We told you when the initial 53-man roster was set that changes were going to be on the way. Well, changes happen. We'll talk about that. We'll break it down. Plus, you'll hear from the Raiders GM. That plus more on Thursday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for August 28th, 2025.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. We definitely appreciate you. If you're catching the show wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you're checking us out by way of the YouTube page, you know we appreciate both. Show grows each and every day because of your consistent support and the great job that my man Ari does behind the scenes, making sure we look good and sound good each and every day by way of the YouTube page. So we shout him out. We appreciate him. He's on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can hit me up as well at your boy Q254. And if you want to be a part of the show, we got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line for you, 707-654-4693. We'll close out the show hearing from you. A lot of good feedback, calls, texts, all that. We'll get it in segment number 3 as we close things out. Segment number 2, we'll learn about and get to know the latest linebacker/edge rusher for the Raiders, Brennan Jackson, a guy that the Raiders claimed off of waivers and were awarded him on Wednesday. My guy Kirk Morrison joined my radio show to tell me exactly who Brennan Jackson is and what he'll bring to the table. So you'll hear that conversation plus a little on Amari Cooper in segment number 2. Here in segment number 1, news and notes of the day. We'll go over the practice squad. We'll talk about the other roster moves that were made and hear a little something from GM John Spytek, who met with the media on Wednesday. We'll jump right into that after I tell you about the title sponsor of this show, which is PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So let's go ahead and get right into the roster moves. I mentioned that the Raiders were awarded a player off of waivers that they put a claim in for, and that was linebacker/edge rusher Brennan Jackson from the Rams. They put out a email and sent it out saying that they've claimed Brennan Jackson from the Rams, and they also signed free agent offensive lineman Stone Forsythe. So Jackson goes to the Raiders after one season with the Rams. He played in 7 games, had 1 start, recorded 2 tackles and a pass defense, as well as 1 special teams tackle. He was the Rams' 5th-round pick, number 154 overall in the 2024 NFL Draft. So that was Brennan Jackson. Again, you'll learn more about him coming up in segment number 2 as Kirk Morrison, who's been covering the Rams for the last 9 years, joined my radio show to break it down and tell me what he brings to the table. So you'll hear that in segment number 2. How about Stone Forsythe? He joins the Raiders for the 5th NFL season after spending training camp with the Giants. Prior to his time with the Giants, he spent his first 4 years of his career with the Seahawks. He played 3 seasons under head coach Pete Carroll from 2021 to 2023, where he was originally a 6th-round pick by the Seahawks in the 2021 NFL Draft. And over his 4 seasons in Seattle, he played in 53 regular season games, made 14 starts, added 1 postseason appearance in 2022. So if you're going to make those kind of additions, when you claim someone off waivers, they've got to go on the 53-man roster. When you sign somebody that's out on the street, they're going on the 53-man roster. So you got to make some corresponding moves. In corresponding moves, the Raiders waived tackle Thayer Munford Jr. and plays quarterback Aiden O'Connell on the reserve injured list. Remember, that was a conversation that we had talked about Aiden O'Connell, and I was surprised that he had made the initial 53-man roster. You'll actually hear from GM John Spytek in just a hot minute why they made that move and now how they went and used that to their advantage. And then also tackle Thayer Munford Jr., a guy that a lot of people were wondering, scratching their head, how did he make the 53? Why is he on the 53? Well, Vinny Bonsignore, who got fired up on the morning tailgate on Wednesday. It was great just to hear him so fired up. Like, I get fired up all the time. It's easy to get me fired up. But, man, he got fired up, and he kept saying, find someone to replace him. You don't just move on from him if you don't have anyone to replace him. John Spytek said, okay, hold my beer. I got your back. And they found Stone Forsythe. Now, regardless if people think that that's a good move or not, well, that still remains to be seen because he wasn't necessarily the highest grade tackle out there, but he's going to play that swing tackle role, and, well, we'll see what he does. But Thayer Munford, a longtime Raider, had been there. Remember, he was drafted in the 7th round by Dave Ziegler. Same draft that they drafted Dylan Parham. Same draft that they drafted Zamir White. Thayer Munford, they waived him on Wednesday. So they also put together their practice squad. It's actually 17 players. They're allowed 16, but they've got the international player, so that's an exemption. So he doesn't count against the 16-man roster. So they actually have a 17-man practice squad. So I'll go over these names really quickly. If one stands out, then I'll stop at it. But, yeah, I'll just kind of go over these really quick. Alex Bachman, the wide receiver. Chris Collier, the running back. Terrell Edmonds, the safety. I said if one stands out, I'll stop. Yeah, that one's going to make me stand out. He's on the practice squad, but expect to get that notification on Saturdays that he's been elevated to the roster, and he'll be active on game day. He's going to get that early, and he's going to get that often. Terrell Edmonds is a guy that's definitely going to be playing quite a bit this year. So just kind of put that one in highlighter and pay attention to that. Again, we'll get those notifications on Saturdays before game nights or before the next game. Jafari Harvey, defensive end. Shedrick Action Jackson, the wide receiver. Matt Jones, the linebacker, he's on the practice squad. Trevin Ma'ai, the defensive tackle, he's on the practice squad. Antonio Mafi, the guard. Cam Miller, quarterback. Remember, the Raiders waived him, and a lot of people were surprised by that. Kept Aiden O'Connell on the active roster. They waived Cam Miller. Nobody claimed him. Cam Miller's on the practice squad. Albert O, the tight end. Carter Runyon, the tight end. Justin Shorter, the wide receiver. Laki Tassi, offensive lineman. Again, he's the guy that gets the exemption. He's an international guy. He could sit on that practice squad all year, and I think that the Raiders are really intrigued by him and want to really try to develop him. So don't look for Laki Tassi in 2025, but he could be a player later on down the road. Trey Taylor, the safety. Greedy Vance, the guy that I thought was going to push, Darnay Holmes for his roster spot, and he might at some point, but not right now. But he's going to be on the practice squad. That means that they keep him in the mix, which is a good thing. And again, if Darnay Holmes gets injured or if he's just not up to par playing at the level that they expect him to play, don't be surprised if Greedy Vance makes his way to the active roster. Dalton Wagner, he's been around the organization for a while, the big tackle out of Arkansas, 6'8", 318. It's a big boy. His problem is always staying healthy. And then J.T. Woods, the safety turned cornerback, he rounds out the practice squad. The Raiders had 3 guys from Baylor on their 17-man practice squad. So they had Matt Jones, Trevin Ma'ai, and then J.T. Woods, all those representing Baylor. Now, real quick, I want to let you hear what GM John Spytek had to say. It was about a 20-minute press conference that he had around 3:30 Pacific time on Wednesday. So I just grabbed a handful of sound bites that I thought were really good and informative to bring to the table here. And the first one is about the acquisition of Kenny Pickett, and then obviously the Aiden O'Connell move, putting him on IR. So here's John Spytek talking Kenny Pickett in the trade and why they traded for Kenny.
Well, obviously quarterbacks are an important commodity, and Kenny's somebody that we've had a lot of respect for a long time. I was in Tampa in 2022 when he was a rookie and beat Tom Brady. He fit the profile of what we're looking for. He does a lot of similar things that Geno does with his athleticism and ability to move the pocket and all that. And, you look around the league and you think, who could be available? Who could we get? And a team with 4 quarterbacks certainly looks like a spot where you could get it. And so we felt like organizationally it made a lot of sense. We still are excited about working through Aiden's injury and getting him back at some point. But, we had to have some answers, and it would be a lot to ask a rookie from North Dakota State to be the number 2 guy going into New England in week 1. So felt like it was a great move for us.
You guys could have put Aiden on IR, but kept him on the active roster. I know Coach Carroll said he thought he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Did you guys have a more optimistic timetable for him to return to that, or was it just...
He's now on IR. We placed him on IR today. So it's just really kind of the way that the league allows you to do different ways to put guys to IR. You get 8 total guys for the entire season to bring back from designated to return. If you do 2 of them like we did Lonnie before, now you're down to 6. And so we thought that this will just give us a little bit more flexibility. Sometimes it's challenging because you have to carry them through the cut and then cut somebody like a veteran usually to do it. With the way our roster was kind of made up, it actually kind of fell together, so it wasn't as challenging to do as some of the places I've been in past. So Aiden's on IR now, and he's already had a surgery, and he's already working hard to get back. And when he's ready, he'll have a chance to play football again.
They like his skill set, right? They're liking it to the same as Geno Smith, right? They don't want to have a guy that's too much, not like, similar to Geno Smith, just because if he has to go in a pinch, they want him to be able to run the offense basically at the same level as Geno. So they've seen him up close and personal, and then they put in a corresponding move. They put him on IR. Aiden O'Connell's on IR. Kind of explained those gymnastics and what went into it, and he's already had his surgery, and he's on the road to recovery, and he'll rejoin the team when he can rejoin the team. John Spytek was also asked about Jacoby Myers. You knew that was going to happen. He's requested a trade. Obviously, he wants a contract extension, so he's there. He's working out. He's not, just like holding out or saying he's not going to play, which I don't ever expect him to do that. I definitely think he's going to continue to be a pro's pro. But here's John Spytek real quick on Jacoby Myers being there even after requesting a trade.
Well, Jacoby's a consummate professional, and Jacoby and I have had a lot of great conversations since I've gotten here about many different things. And, I'm excited that he's here and he's a Raider and he's out in the field working hard today. And I've not seen him do anything but that since I've been here. He's a professional. I think he really values being a Raider. He has a lot of respect for this game, and I think he only knows how to go about it one way, which is to give his best when he's out there.
There's John Spytek talking about, Jacoby Myers being a pro's pro, right? Good relationship. He's had good conversations. They just haven't agreed on a deal. Will they agree on one sooner rather than later? We'll find out. But as of now, no. But he's still there working out, and that is not a surprise to me at all. Also, Spytek was asked about Amari Cooper, the fact that they signed him, and, well, they happened to sign him the same day we found out that Jacoby Myers requested a trade. So, first of all, you'll hear John Spytek talk about Cooper, and then did the signing have anything to do with the Jacoby Myers trade request?
We're always going to try to find guys at different times that can help our team win. And, I love the idea of playing rookies. I think that's a constant, tug and war between coaches and personnel people sometimes. And I think it's really easy for me to sit up here and say, play the rookies, because I don't have to call the plays and coach them up and, get the quarterback to feel like they can trust them. And so we just constantly monitored who was available. And the more we talked about it, and then the Mari was still there, and the way we saw our roster developing and seeing Dante and Jack come along, we started to have some conversations with Mari about coming back to Raider Nation. And, he was super interested right away. And obviously, we made the move because we felt like he made us better. And it's been really cool to see him out there the last couple of days. He's somebody I've had a lot of respect for a long time. I can still remember in 2016 in Tampa, when some of you guys may have been there, when he shredded us. And, feels like a long time ago, probably for both me and him. But a lot of respect for him. I'm glad he's a Raider right now.
John, if we could just clarify, just based off your comments about keeping an eye on Amari, always keeping an eye where he was at. Is it just pure coincidental that the news of Jacoby requesting a trade, that they were roughly the same day or same time? I mean, did it have anything to do with that in terms of the news breaks that he requested trade? So let's go lock him up in case something doesn't happen with Jacoby.
My official answer and the absolute truth is that it was pure coincidence. Yes. It may not look like that, but it was absolutely coincidence. We had been talking to Amari for a while, just making sure it was the right fit and we could work the right contract out.
Trying to get better at all times, right? They've been looking at Amari for a while. Jack, Dante Thornton, seeing their development might not have been going as quickly as they'd like it to go. So, boom, they decided to go and sign Amari Cooper. And the signing had nothing to do with Jacoby. They were just making sure the timing was right, making sure the money was right. And, again, just kind of reiterated that they're trying to get better at all times. And you heard John Spytek, I don't mind playing young guys all the time. I want to play the rookies, but he also is not coaching the team. The final soundbite that I want you to hear from John Spytek's press conference he had Wednesday afternoon has to do with the other guy that comes from the FCS. Cam Miller, they put him on the practice squad. Tommy Mellott, they did not. Here's John Spytek on that decision.
I have a lot of respect for Tommy, and there was a lot of hard decisions that we made the last couple of days, and ultimately our responsibility, coach and myself, is to put the best 53 and then 17 after that, and to get ready to win football games. And there's always a development part of that too, but there's a reality sometimes that who is most ready and who is furthest along and who can help this team win the most. And ultimately we made some decisions that didn't include him for now. When I talked to him yesterday, he's a great kid. He worked really, really hard to try to become an NFL wide receiver after being an FCS quarterback. I don't think people understand quite how hard that is. And unfortunately, this is not a field where there's a lot of patience all the time. And I still believe in Tommy. I think he's got a really bright future, and I really hope that he finds a place where he can find maybe a little more patience from a roster standpoint. The other thing I would say too, and this is to compliment Alex Guerrero, Chris Cortez, and our entire athletic training staff, we were very, very healthy. And a lot of times those decisions get made for you. There's a lot of times where I've been in a wide receiver room where you have 15 guys, and next thing you know, you're down to 10, and it's not that hard to make a decision. We had to make a decision between all the wide receivers that we brought to camp. They were all healthy at the end. So unfortunately, it didn't work out here for Tommy right now, but I'm never saying never to him, and I wish him the best wherever he ends up.
It's not a lot of room to be patient in the NFL. It's a numbers game. We talk about it all the time. A lot of good players in college, a lot of great players in college. But when you get to the NFL, it's a numbers game, and it's what can you do for me now, Right? They don't really have the ability to sit there and allow a guy to develop. There's only so many spaces, and if you're not developing quickly enough, and then they got to do what they got to do. So you hear John Spytek talk about maybe he can go somewhere where there'll be someone that's able to be a little bit more patient, a place that's allowed to be a little bit more patient. And that's places that are already really successful, and they're not going to count on that guy immediately to be really good, right? I mean, so if they didn't have a guy, well, Lucky Tassi doesn't count against the practice squad, but, there's guys on the practice squad that they're looking at that can help them in the future, but also could help them right now. Tommy Mellott didn't check either one of those boxes currently, so that's why he's not on the practice squad. And, John Spytek said, not saying that it's forever. There's always a chance that he could come back. But to me, it didn't sound like Tommy Mellott would be back anytime soon. But they do have Brennan Jackson. Brennan Jackson, they claimed him off waivers, put him on the 53-man roster. Kirk Morrison knows him really well, knows what he brings to the table. Kirk's been covering the Rams for the last 9 years. He was a guest on my radio show to talk about Brennan Jackson and even touched on Amari Cooper. You'll hear that coming up in segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Before I get to that, though, I do want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is done. College football is here. So whether you got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in the game. PrizePicks is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your pick right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Folks use PrizePicks for many seasons, and they love how simple it is. You can get a lineup in before your coffee finishes brewing. That's how quick it is and easy to make it happen. The flex play option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still double your money. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Right now, download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Time to get to know new Raiders linebacker / edge rusher, Brennan Jackson. The Raiders picked him up off of waivers by way of the Rams. I knew Kirk Morrison had been covering the Rams for quite a while on the broadcast, so, kind of knows the ins and outs of the organization and saw Brennan Jackson when he was drafted by the Rams back in 2024. So he jumped on the radio show on Wednesday, Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920 to talk all things Brennan Jackson, and then we even dip into Amari Cooper at the end. Here's that conversation. Check it out. The Raiders claim Rams edge Brennan Jackson off of waivers. He's listed as a linebacker, but he's a guy that's rushing the quarterback, and I immediately reached out to you and said, what do you know about Brennan Jackson? So tell Raider Nation what they're getting in Brennan Jackson.
No, man, outstanding player. Go back to covering him while he was at Washington State. Remember, he was a teammate of Cam Ward over at Washington State. And, look, he stood out. He was one of those older guys on the defense, right? Remember, one of those guys who stayed an extra year because of the COVID year. And it really did him, I think, a solid because he was able to show that what kind of player that he was and show that he can play up and down the defensive front. He can play end. He can play a little bit of 5, and maybe if you need him to go inside, he can do that. But he's stout against the run. To me, just an outstanding young football player is going to progress. And unfortunately, he went to a Rams team that's solid at the defensive ends. I mean, you drafted Jared Verse on the opposite side, Byron Young. So you have a defensive rookie of the year on one side and another solid player that you drafted. To me, they just didn't have enough room. So you have to make him, you have to waive him. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. It just means that there was not enough room on the Rams roster. I think he can be an immediate impact player for the Raiders. And I'm meaning that because now when you start to look at the roster, Q, we got to look at this. Guys who can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be on that 46-man roster, right, it's one thing to be on the 53, but on game day when the roster's at 46, I believe 48 players who are available on Sunday, it's the more you can do. It's maybe a guy who can play guard and tackle, right, and play center if needed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why Thayer Mumford's not there anymore. Or on the opposite side on defense, are you a guy that can, I call them piano guys, meaning they can play up and down the keys, meaning that they can play up and down the defensive front? Could this be an opportunity for Brennan Jackson to do that? But then also, too, some other guys who, maybe this helps out a Tyree Wilson now who can play, showing his versatility at playing on the inside on the passing situations and can play the edge rush. Let's be honest, the Raiders are still looking for a consistent pass rush outside of Max Crosby. We got happy with what we saw from Malcolm Kuntz, but could Brennan Jackson also push a little bit, who we waited all pretty much off season and training camp to really get going?
Is Brennan Jackson the guy you look at kind of similar to Thomas Booker the fourth, who the Raiders traded for, who's just so buried on the depth chart that he just needs reps to be able to show what he could really do?
Oh, 100%. There was just not enough reps to go around when you look at certain players. And the Rams, I've covered them the last 9 years, so know a lot about how the way Sean McVay and Les Snead think. They give those players an opportunity throughout the preseason. That's why I feel like the Raiders put a claim in so quickly, because they were able to watch film of him in those preseason games. So when you have that ability to see a guy and say, you know what, he fits our system, he fits our scheme, and has some versatility, that's why you bring him in. Same thing you mentioned with Thomas Booker. I mean, I don't think Raider Nation knew who Thomas Booker was going into training camp, but all of a sudden, he got traded. 20 minutes later, the dude was making plays in silver and black. Hey, where did he come from? I think it's very similar. Brennan Jackson can be the same type of player. Obviously, it's going to be a learning curve in terms of how long it'll take for him to get available, to start learning the scheme of Patrick Graham and Pete Carroll. But I just know that he's a solid football player. Always called. One thing I can tell you from covering the Rams, they always draft adults.
Yeah.
And I truly mean that. They draft football players and guys who are all about football, they don't. It's none of the off the field things. It's guys who are all about ball, and they come in as adults and they're ready to go. So that's what Raider Nation's getting. They're not getting a guy who needs to wait around and he's got some off the field. No. They're getting a guy who is solid off the field and, more importantly, solid on the field.
Kirk, we'll close out with this. Yesterday it became official that Amari Cooper, drafted in the first round in 2015, he is back in the silver and black, and he said, I've got unfinished business. And what stood out to me, Kirk, is he said, look, when you draft a guy in the top 5, you're expecting him to change your organization. I did that at times, but I didn't do that consistently. To have that self-awareness, to me, from Amari Cooper, that stood out. What do you think about him? What do you think he brings to this Raiders team?
I think the biggest thing is that he brings ability. And when I say ability, is that the ability to get open when needed. I think anybody can tell you, Amari Cooper, yes, he's had big plays. He's had, solid plays. But the one thing I could never consistently say is somebody, locked up Amari Cooper today.
Right.
I feel like the guy was always able to get open. And I think that's going to help out a guy like Geno Smith, whether it's these option routes, routes off the line of scrimmage. To me, I think he has the ability. And I think back in covering Geno over the last couple of years, I think this could be the Tyler Lockett for him.
Ooh,
Seeing the plays that Tyler Lockett made in that offense in Seattle, it'll be that. Because Tyler Lockett wasn't the number 1 option. I don't even know he was the number 2 option. But, man, every time you looked up, Tyler Lockett was making a big play. And I think that's what we're going to get from Amari Cooper. We already know it's number 1 right now on this offense is Agent 89, and that's Brock Bowers. After Brock, then you go Jacoby, and now is Amari now your third wide receiver, okay? A guy who, and I'm not taking things away from the offense. I don't need to scheme Amari Cooper to get open.
Right.
And I know a lot of Raider Nation fans are like, oh, man, because we got Trey Tucker and we're going to find ways to get him the ball. If I hear that again, we're going to find ways to get him the ball. Why should I have to find a way to get him the ball?
That's a good point.
I got Amari Cooper who comes in and, hey, Coop, go get open, right? Backyard football, right? Sandlot football, whatever you want to do. Hey, go get open, and I'll throw you the football. That's what I think Amari Cooper brings, along with some of those other guys who are going to be great. Trust me, Dante Thornton, Trey Tucker, all those guys are part of the offense. But I know on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, if it's not going to Brock Bowers or Jacoby Myers, I'm fully confident that I know Amari Cooper can get open and to keep the chains moving.
So on Brennan Jackson, play up and down the line, stout against the run, not enough room on the Rams roster. Who does that sound like? Thomas Booker the fourth, maybe? That's why I brought that name up when I was talking to Kirk. Immediate impact player for the Raiders. I love how he said piano guys, plays up and down the keys. That's awesome. Those are the kind of nuggets that you're going to get on the broadcast with Kirk Morrison. That's going to be a lot of fun. Piano guys, plays up and down the keys. Again, similar to Thomas Booker, needs more reps. He's an adult, all about football, solid on the field, solid off the field. Then when we were talking about Coop, right, brings ability to get open. He never consistently said, oh, Amari got locked up today, right? He could be Geno Smith's Tyler Lockett. don't have to find a way to get him open. I love that. Don't have to find a way to get him open like folks say about Trey Tucker. And I think I'm guilty of saying that the Raiders, they're going to find ways to get Trey Tucker the ball. I love what Kirk said. If I hear that one more time, that was fantastic. So guess what? I'm not going to word it like that, right? No reason to do that. But he's not wrong, right? I mean, you shouldn't need to find ways to get the guy the ball. The guy should just be there and get open and get used. Now, that's the thing. I'll say that the Raiders, I don't think ever used him correctly or ever had a guy that could use him correctly or dialed him up the right way. But I like how Kirk said it, right? I don't want to hear anymore that they're going to find ways to get Trey Tucker the ball, right? Either you're going to or you're not. You're going to use him or you're not. He's going to get open or he isn't. I thought that was fantastic breakdown from Captain Kirk. Again, great stuff that you'll hear on the Raiders broadcast alongside Jason Horowitz. But hopefully that helped get to know Brennan Jackson a little bit more. I never want to try to come to the table and act like, oh, man, I know this guy. He's fantastic, this, that, and the other. Just like with Thomas Booker, as soon as I saw the Raiders traded, I reached out to my guy, Mike Gill. Mike, tell me a little something about Book. Oh, Q, you're going to like him. And then, boom, reach out to someone else. Man, you're going to like him. He's really a good player. Just needs more reps. I reach out to the guys that are smarter than me. I reach out to the guys that are been there, done that, and know these guys and see them up close and personal and can give me their honest assessment. And that's why Kirk was fantastic on Wednesday. Definitely appreciate him. What is your thoughts? What do you think about the 53-man roster, the practice squad, and more about this team? Well, we'll hear from you as we close things out. 707-654-4693. Before we get to that, though, I do want to tell you about a couple great sponsors here on the show, and the first is Rugiet Ready. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast. On average, 15 minutes. And effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Bow, chicka, wow, wow. You know what I'm saying? Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and it's completely online. Rugiet connects with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the promo code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL. Use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. I also want to tell you about FanDuel. Get excited. Get fired up. Why? The NFL season is almost here. FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. What's that? Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And when you use it across the app, you can build a same-game parlay, jump into live action as it unfolds. They make every single game way more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sunday. So, are you ready to play? I said, are you ready to play? Okay, good. The folks in the back row heard me. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and texts straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with a call from the 5 and Dime. He's calling to talk about the Raiders roster, the moves that the Raiders made, and also the return of Amari Cooper. And what does that mean for Jack Best? Here's a call from the 5 and Dime.
Yo, what up, Q? Just listening and hearing all these Raider cuts here that just went down yesterday on Tuesday. Looks like we kept a pretty good, solid roster. The wide receivers and being able to pick up Amari Cooper, will definitely boost up our wide receiver room because I do feel like we needed another veteran presence. I'm not too fond of Amari Cooper. If you guys recall, his first 2 years in the league were kind of rough. He was Mr. Drop a lot, right? He dropped a lot of balls, and throughout his career with the Raiders, he did drop plenty of balls. Is he a great route runner? Yes. Does he have speed? I don't know, not so much now, but back then, yes, he did. But there is another player that I want to discuss that maybe had an effect on the signing of Amari Cooper, and that is Jack Best. where has this guy been all preseason? I mean, I know he was on a holdout as a second rounder I don't know if it was him trying to get more money or work out the works of the contract, but where has this guy been all preseason, right? He was drafted very high, right? When I first saw that pick, I did not like it. I hope I'm absolutely wrong. He had one very high productive year in TCU. Then he held out as a second rounder, trying to either get more money or something with the contract. You would think that all the hype and, being a high second round pick, you would see some flashes in the preseason, and we didn't see anything. I know I didn't see anything. I had my binoculars on trying to figure out where Jack Besh was. Didn't see anything from him this preseason. I don't know if that had an effect on the Raiders going and signing Amari Cooper, but I'm hoping he finds a way to become what he is supposed to become as a second-round pick, because the Raiders had a lot of potential better picks in the second round and decided to go with a Jack Besh. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Jack Besh? I don't know if you've seen something out of him in the off season or training camp, but please let me know why he didn't flash during the preseason. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping he ends up balling out. But let's see. Other than that, Q, love the podcast. Keep doing what you're doing. Definitely excited for the opener. Let's get it. Raiders!
Thanks so much for the call, my man. You didn't leave your name, so I just got to say your area code. But shout out to the 5 and Dime of the 510 Bay Area. Not mad at that. The roster does look pretty solid, right? I believe there's still a few moves to make, and I'm sure that they will. Coop coming back to the Raiders to me was kind of no big deal, but as he did his press conference, it sounded like he had something to prove. Unfinished business, his words, not mine. So we'll see what he's able to do. I thought Kirk had a really good breakdown of him. He's now a guy that on 3rd and 3, if they're not going to Brock Bowers, if they're not going to Jacoby Myers, then hey, boom, there's Amari Cooper right there, right? A guy that's been there, done that in the league. So he's not a guy that you have to try to find a way to get on the ball. He's a guy that just finds ways to get open all the time. As far as Besh, he'll be fine, right? He didn't necessarily hold out, right? And he didn't miss any of training camp. He was there for the entire training camp. What happened is the entire second round of draft picks, the whole class, right? None of them signed their contract outside the first 2. They got fully guaranteed deals. Then they were all waiting for Tyler Shough from New Orleans. So once they just had to wait. It was a waiting game. It wasn't really on him. It's not like he was saying, "Oh, I got to get paid. I got to get paid." It was just kind of one of those things. He couldn't jump in line and get his contract done, because that would have messed up everyone else's as well. So you got to be able to do what you got to do as far as contracts go in the National Football League. But him and Thornton, they're going to both have an ability to grow. I think that they're going to be really good, but they're also in a position where they don't have to be really good right now, right? And so, I think that you'll like what you'll see from Besh and Thornton. Besh is a tough possession guy. They like him a lot. I know that for a fact. He was really good his freshman year at LSU and then balled out last season at TCU, like you mentioned. So I think everything will be fine with Jack Besh and Dante Thornton. Just got to give him some time to develop, and the Raiders have done just that. Thanks for the call. Definitely appreciate you. Next time you call us, man, you got to give me your name so I don't have to call you out by the area code. Up next, got a text from Delamigo Raider. Hey, Q, Delamigo Raider here. Just an observation. This year's offense feels like 2010, 2011 all over again. Geno Smith reminds me of Jason Campbell. A solid journeyman quarterback. Genty brings that Darren McFadden energy as a first-round running back. And Chip Kelly, he's giving me Hugh Jackson vibes as an innovative play caller. Hope the outcome is different this time as Delamigo Raider. Well, I hadn't thought about it like that. I might actually use that on my radio show as a question, right? A topic for the day. I didn't really think about that, but the way you broke that down, I might have to bring that to the table, man. I like that one. And I think there's some really good similarities. Obviously, that was a season that I expected the Raiders to do really well. They were doing really well, and then Jason Campbell broke his collarbone, and it was all downhill from there. Hugh Jackson decided to trade a first-round pick for Carson Palmer, who is doing what I'm doing right now, sitting down doing nothing, except for he was on his couch probably drinking a beer and watching The Simpsons while I'm up here working, right? He was doing nothing. They gave a first-round pick for him. I'm still angry about that. I got a lot of respect for Hugh Jackson, but that was a miss as far as I'm concerned. But that's nice. I think I'm gonna use that on my radio show later on this afternoon. Thanks for the text. Appreciate you. Up next, got a call from ABA Ivan Davis. He's calling to talk about 2 wide receivers, Amari Cooper and Jacoby Myers. Here he is, ABA Ivan Davis.
What's up, Q? This is ABA Ivan Davis. calling to chime in on Amari Cooper and Jacoby Myers. I think Coop is going to have a good year. Let me explain to you why. Think of, an older lady, right, who hadn't had any kids. And I would say her internal clock is ticking if she want to have children. Switch that over to football. This is his 10th year. Remember he mentioned that 10 years went by fast? His legacy clock is ticking. What is he going to be remembered as? That's where his unfinished business coming in. If his attitude is truly changed, I think we could at least get a lot of the Coop at the beginning of his career, but he's older now, so he probably can't do the same things he used to. So he wants to define his legacy now. Okay, and so I think this is an excellent backup in case Jacoby Myers, really pushes to get out of the Raiders facility and onto another team. And then hopefully we got an adequate backup. If it's the old Amari Cooper, then you're right. We don't have a backup. You got to choose Jacoby. But if Cooper changed his attitude, he could push Jacoby Myers. He's probably still a little faster than him. And if he actually focuses on catching the ball, then we've got something. I see this offense being absolutely explosive. Think about that 5 wide receivers you can put out there, okay, at any one time. They're going to be unguardable. Okay, this is an offense that has the potential to score anywhere from 20 to 30 points a game. The defense just has to be average or above average, and we could easily get 8, 9, or even 10 wins and make the postseason. I don't see why not. Anyway, would love to hear what you think, Q. I don't get too many opportunities to call anymore, man. I'm back in school taking a television class and working with the San Francisco Giants. But anyway, go Raiders.
ABA, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you. And yeah, man, I had no idea that you could talk about a lady's biological clock and Amari Cooper's legacy in the same conversation. I had no idea. As far as pushing Jacoby, I don't see that, right? I mean, what you said, if he doesn't drop the ball, well, guess what Jacoby doesn't do? He doesn't drop the ball. And Amari puts the ball on the ground. So Cooper's in addition to, not in place of, as far as I'm concerned. But congratulations on school, TV school. Good luck with the Giants job. Mama Q would approve. She is a Giants fan. So there you go, ABA Ivan Davis. Up next, just got time for a couple more. A text from Johnny Rader in Eastside Long Beach. He said, hey, Q, Johnny Rader from Eastside Long Beach, now living that cowboy life in Southeast Arizona. Just had some questions on your thoughts on the practice squad. I'm a little worried about our talent evaluation after seeing a draft pick and Tommy Malott not even make it to our practice squad. I'm also worried about keeping guys who played some really crappy football in the preseason, like Jafari Harvey, Matt Jones, and Antonio Mafi on our practice squad over guys like Amari Gaynor, Andre Carter II. Do you know if they signed elsewhere, or did the Raiders just not want them? I'm, however, elated to keep Greedy Vance, Laki Tassi, Chris Collier, Cam Miller, Carter Runyon. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks for all that you do. Raiders. Thanks, Johnny Raider. I appreciate the text. I only laugh because you're like, man, I'm worried about the talent evaluation. I'm really worried about it, man. They didn't keep this guy, and they kept this guy over these other guys. But I'm happy about Greedy Vance, Laki Tassi, Chris Collier, Cam Miller, Carter Runyon. Like, you rattled off all these guys that you're happy about. So let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that you're happy about. And I get it, 17-man, practice squad. But that was just funny the way that you worded it. It's just their preference, man. They know what they're looking for. I just happen to give coaches and evaluators way more of a benefit of the doubt because, again, they know what they're looking for. They know what these guys bring to the table. They know how they feel about these guys. So, a guy like Amari Gaynor, I was pretty high on him, but he was very deep on the depth chart, right? He was way low on the depth chart, and he was one of the guys that was released immediately. Antonio Mafi, he's a Chip Kelly guy. Played for him at UCLA, so I wasn't surprised that they kept him around. Matt Jones, Harvey, I can see Harvey actually getting in some playing time sometime this season. So, again, it's just what they're looking for. They know what they can get out of some of these guys. So thanks so much for the text. Thanks for the good laugh, too. Definitely appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Vader Raider, the 303. He's calling to talk about the 53-man roster, what he feels about this team after watching preseason, and definitely has a few concerns that he wants to address. Here's Vader Raider in the 303.
You, Raider Nation. It's your boy, Vader Raider, out here behind enemy lines in the 303. Hope everybody's doing good. Shout out to you. Shout out to Ari for keeping this thing going. Q, once again, Congratulations on 7 years on Locked On. Hey, you know what? It's been the best. It's been really good 7 years, just saying. And real happy you're keeping this thing going. Couple things, Q, I wanted to touch on. The 53-man roster, of course, is out. And, not too many surprises. Kind of what I figured. Just want to dabble on a couple things. Based off of everything I've seen in preseason, I just want to give my last assessment on this. And I got to say, I think that, 8 or 9 wins is still, what I've been thinking as well. It's kind of the consensus. I'll say this, Q. I'm scared to death of that secondary, and I think that's why. I think the secondary is going to cost us some football games. I'll be perfectly honest with that. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or negative Nancy or anything. I mean, I'm just trying to keep it real. That's just how I feel. And I wanted to allude into the second thing here with the offensive side of the ball. Now, the Jacoby Myers news was not good. The Amari Cooper news, well, I echoed the sentiments of Big Link on the show that, I don't really like Amari Cooper being on this team, but like you say, if Amari Cooper's going to come in and just 4 or 5 catches and help out, that's okay too. But I digress. Q, this whole thing with Jacoby Myers, I think I believe he'll get signed. I don't think he's going to get signed to a big deal, obviously, because he's not a true number one. I mean, I think he's a high 2, low 1. Obviously, that's to the opinion of everybody else, but he's valuable to this organization. So hopefully they respect him, and I don't want them to disrespect him because all the good he's done for this team. All right, Raider Nation. Well, that's just my assessment. 8 or 9 wins. We're going to be playing zone a lot this year, and it terrifies me. All right, Raider Nation, keep y'all heads up. It's going to be all right. Vader Raider out.
Vader Raider, thanks for the call. I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for rocking with me as long as you have. And as far as the secondary, I do believe that's still a concern. There's no doubt, right? That's something that I think we've been all talking about. 8, 9 wins is the window that I've been very consistent with. I know Raider Nation doesn't like that, but I'm very consistent with that, and I very much think that would be a really good season to double or maybe even more than double your win total from a year ago. No, that's not going to get you in the playoffs, but man, that would be a great step in the right direction, especially in a tough division, right? You're expecting everyone to come together really quickly. As far as Jacoby Myers going, being a high number 2, that's fine, right? He just needs to get a high number 2 real contract, right? It's not $10.5 million what he's making this year. So add a couple years, call it a day, add some guaranteed money. As a matter of fact, I had a great conversation with Michael Giannitti from Spytek.com on my radio show on Wednesday. I had a fantastic show on Wednesday, as you could tell. Michael Giannitti, Kirk Morrison, John Spytek played that live, talked a little UNLV. I mean, it was a great show. But with that being said, really good stuff on Jacoby's contract and what he should be expecting. I'll actually have that on tomorrow's show so you can hear that as well. And the fact that Jacoby has leverage right now. I know a lot of folks might not believe it, but he definitely has leverage right now. We'll close things out with text from Down South Raider. Man, that all I could think of, and I know everyone won't understand that, but when I hear Down South Raider, all I could think of is the song Down South. Down South, where I say, I can't say all the words, but you know how it goes. Down South, Mad Hatter, Slim Thug, Young Star. Man, that's my times in Texas, right? That's when the West Coast Texan comes out in me, right? That's what they called me when I was there, the West Coast Texan. I'm West Coast through and through, but man, my time in Texas had me singing songs like that. Down South, where I stay, switching lanes, to the M.I. You know what I mean? Just these H-Town boys like to, anyway, just go in and just Google it. Google it again. I'm keeping it clean because it's a family-friendly show. But let's get to the text. Q, Down South Raider here. You do a great job, brother. Bring it every day with fairness and knowledge, and you should know the Raider Nation appreciates you. Just want to say that I don't think bringing in Amari Cooper is a deal to sweat over at all. He's not there to replace Myers. He's not there to take reps from an underperforming Besh. He's a guy who has played the game at a high level, came with a cheap price tag, and he has a little left in the tank. He just makes our receiver room a little stronger. Also, Pete Carroll likes bringing in veteran receivers and kicking their tires. During Pete's time in Seattle, he gave T.O. his last NFL contract ever. He also brought in an older Josh Gordon, and there are a handful of others. I guess what I'm saying is people need to stop reading so much into this signing. He's a decent receiver to add to our room. That's all. Let's root for him and the rest of the boys. Thanks again, Q. Stay up. That's from Down South Raider. Again, I agree with everything you said on that. Fantastic, but I cannot get that song out of my head. I'm sorry. Like I know I've already gone over time, or else I'd pull up the song right now and we'd down south where man, that beat, we played it every Friday. I started out my show when I was on the hip hop station. I started out the show every Friday with that song. Matter of fact, coming up on Friday on Raider Nation Radio 920 Necessary Roughness, I might try to start it with that song. I'm going to tell Ari to put it in the intro, just the instrumental, just to get me in the zone. It's just got one of those beats, man. Again, do yourself a favor and Google it, and you'll understand what I'm saying. The song goes so hard in the paint. It's like 5 minutes long. The intro, the instrumental. I don't know. I'm going off on the tangent I shouldn't be doing. But anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. I'm in a whole different mode now. That's my fault, and I guess it's your fault because I read your text. But that's going to do it for today's show. As always, goes over a little time. Sorry, Ari. My bad. I'll do better. Well, probably not. But we got the Raiders Squad Show. Chantel Chan, Lincoln Kennedy, myself will do that this morning. The Raiders are back at practice. And then Pete Carroll will talk around 10:30, so we'll definitely have some of that as well. But on the Squad Show, final 53-man roster, Raiders claims, where are the Raiders, are you still concerned about certain position groups? Stuff like that we'll be talking about. Chantel Chan, Lincoln Kennedy, and myself, 7:30 a.m. We're back to 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. So whatever time you're listening to this, it may be going on, or it may just be over or getting ready to start. So make sure you check it out. Tune in for that, and we do appreciate you. So till tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.